What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today's episode 3 of Worlds Week, and this time around, instead of Justin and Aaron, we have somebody else. If you just want to introduce yourself really quick.
Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Baxter, and I've been brought in as the resident Groudon expert.
That's very true. I think Kevin's probably the best Primal player. I mean, you played Kyogre and Groudon before anybody else really did, if I remember correctly.
Well, at the same time as people, but nobody was before.
Yeah, that's true. Now, speaking of Groudon, that is the deck that we're going to talk about today. I know Monday we talked about the Manectric Seismitoad Crobat deck. Tuesday we talked about the Mega Manectric Gardevoir. And every day we talked about, Groudon's a bad deck for both of those decks. And so, if both those decks are really popular, then I think that Groudon would be a great choice for day 1 of Swiss, or even day 2 of Swiss, if both those decks get popular. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, it's actually probably my top choice for day 1 at this point, if I were to be playing. I think it has really solid matchups with what I expect to be there.
Now, I guess before we start going into this list, there's 2 different kinds of Groudon lists floating around. There's a Wobbuffet, just straight Wobbuffet Primal Groudon, maybe like a Regirock thrown in there, and then there's basically your list. I haven't seen anybody else really play like a Landorus Hawlucha Primal Groudon deck. Now, what are the main differences between those 2 decks?
Well, with the Wobbuffet version, pretty much only uses Gaia Volcano. It sits behind Wobbuffet and Robosub for 5 or 6 turns or whatever until it's ready to kill exactly what it wants, and then just sweeps from there. Whereas this version that I've been playing with the most, it has the Hawluchas and Landorus EXs to have other options basically for different situations other than just Gaia Volcanoing everything.
Yeah, that's very true. I guess if you didn't know, Gaia Volcano does 100 damage. If there's a Stadium card to play, you discard it, do 100 more, so 200 total. But with strong energies and fighting stadiums, you can do, 300? No. Did you do 300 total? I think you can.
If you have the Muscle Band in the list, then that's 6 buffs.
Yeah. So 320? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So you can swing for 320 on Primal Groudon. I mean, you only need 300 to knock out a Crystal Wall Kyurem. So, But, I mean, like you said,
Keep that in mind for Worlds.
What'd you say?
I said keep that in mind for Worlds when you play against a Crystal Wall.
Yeah, if you see a Crystal Wall Kyurem, just be like, alright, I'm glad I played this Muscle Band. Well, you don't need the Muscle Band, you just need to hit for 300, so I guess if you prize a strong energy, you can play it down. So. Now, you do play the Hawlucha and Landorus. What matchups do those help out in?
Well, the Hawluchas obviously are good a deck that relies mostly on EXs, usually the Seismitoad decks, the Manectric decks. Pretty good against Aegislash. Yeah, pretty much just anything like that. Well, if Virizion Genesect exists, that's what Hawlucha's there for also. Landorus usually deals best with non-EX basics. It's your only out against Night March. And whenever you need to finish off something on the bench. And actually, Land's Judgment, I use for almost as much damage and for 1 less energy.
What'd you say that you cut out there for a second? You said you use Land's Judgment. I think you said probably a lot of the time, but you cut out there for a second.
Yeah, I use it almost as much as Gaia Volcano in tournaments, just because it does almost the same thing for 3 energy instead of 4. It's really easy to Scrabble switch onto also.
Yeah, that's true. Now, there's another attacker in here that sometimes people play, Regirock. It has the same trait as the Primal Groudon. It can't be a life standard, or any trainer cards can't affect it except Headringers. Or not even Headringers because it's not EX, so basically all trainers can affect it. But what do you think about it in this deck? I've seen some lists play with Wobbuffet. I've seen some people play in this. What do you think the purpose is of it?
I actually really like the idea of Regirock. It's basically just because it's a non-EX. It has a better chance of dealing with Suicunes, so you don't have to necessarily rely on drawing into your Silent Labs at the right time. So it's kind of like insurance against, like Wailord or Manectric or anything that plays Suicune. And then it kind of gives you a shot against those EX hate decks like Hippowdon and Klinklang.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's enough to actually like win you those matchups, but it'll give you maybe a fighting chance if you expect like a lot of those.
Okay. Now, I know it's first attack lets you get back 2 or 3 stadium cards.
It's 2 stadiums from the discard to your hand.
Okay, do you think it'd ever be like a good idea just to send a Regirock and maybe get back like fighting stadiums or Silent Labs?
I think if your game plan is to use it for that, it would be just better as a Bunnelby because it's more versatile. Because you can shuffle them back in. You don't generally need 2 stadiums in your hand. But like if you're playing it because it's a non-EX attacker, then there's going to be situations where that first attack is also good.
Okay. Now its second attack, like you said, it's for Suicune, maybe Hippowdon if you play against a Klinklang deck. I don't have one on PTCGO. Is it 3 or 4 energies for the second attack?
It's 4, unfortunately.
Okay. And it does 100 or 80?
It does 80 flip for plus 40.
Okay, there you go. So
like once you get like strong energy or whatever on it, then it usually hits over 100 anyway.
That's true. Okay. So I just don't own one on PTCGO, and
I don't either.
I think it's impossible to trade for one. Also,
is it really? I thought they like might have come out of those mystery boxes or whatever, but I've never actually seen one.
I haven't either. I know they came out as a blister for like it seemed like a second, and then they disappeared.
I don't know.
All right, so I mean, I think that's all the Pokemon you can really expect in Groudon, like Wobbuffet, maybe Regirock. Anything else that you might have in Groudon?
Kind of like I said earlier, the Bunnelby.
Oh, true.
In the Wobbuffet versions, I actually really do like a Bunnelby over the 4th Wobbuffet. Because most of the time, it does the same thing as Wobbuffet, just sits up in the active and dies. But it also gives you the option to shuffle stuff back in, because there's going to be times when you discard like strong energy, extra stadiums or supporters or whatever you need, or like primals if you're not able to evolve it. Yeah. So I do, like, when I've been testing the Wobbuffet version, I do really like a Bunnelby in it.
Okay. Now, I know for Nationals, and I know a lot of people have asked me this, you decided to play one Manectric EX? Do you think the card's useful anymore? I guess the real question is, did it help you at all at Nationals?
Yes, it did. The reasons that I put it in were to deal with Zubats mostly, and then just kind of take advantage of everybody playing Shamans. So it was kind of useful, not as useful as I thought it was going to be, because like we all kind of went into Nationals thinking, the Raichu Crobat decks would be the huge thing because they were at Canada. It ended up being decent. Like I killed some Zubats with it, killed a Shaman here or there, but for Worlds, the meta is probably not going to be as like saturated with that kind of thing. Day 1, I would probably not include it. If there happens to be some crazy meta where that's true, going into day 2, then maybe you can put it back in.
Okay, all right. That's enough about the Pokemon here, and let's start talking about the trainers. I know my list plays one Battle Compressor, some lists don't play any. I mean, I like the idea of discarding the energy so you can start using Mega Turbo, maybe use a Verse Seeker. Always like, if you have a bunch of supporters, why not play one Battle Compressor? That way if you start Verse Seeker, you can just get the Battle Compressor to get a supporter, guarantee turn 1. What are your thoughts on the Battle Compressor?
I did have Battle Compressor in for Florida Regionals back the first time I played it, and I really liked it. It was basically just, there are times sometimes when you have Karina on turn 1 or turn 2 because you need to get a Pokemon, but you don't necessarily need an item that bad. It's just like a great thing to get turn 1 or turn 2, just to get your Lysander in the discard, to get a little energy in the discard. So I wouldn't say it's like completely necessary, but it's a nice luxury to have.
Okay. Now, obviously, Mega Turbos for Primal Groudon. Can you see lists going more than 2? It doesn't. I guess in the Wobbuffet version, I can see maybe more than 2 for sure, because I mean you only attack as Primal Groudon. But what about this version?
Right. Yeah. In the Wobbuffet version, it makes more sense to run a higher count. In this version, probably not, just because I mean there are some games you don't even go for Groudon at all. So I think 2 is probably correct for this version, but I'd say 3 is probably where you want to be for Wobbuffet. I've been testing with 2 and 3. Could go either way, but I've seen lists that have 4. I just think that's incorrect. Don't go up to 4. You're just going to have them in your opening hand and not do anything with them.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Professor is obvious for Karina, Professor and a Pokemon. Scramble Switch? Yeah, a cool story Scramble Switch. I mean, we all know what it does, you know.
Um, it's kind of the same story every time, just like, there's an energy on a Holucha and there's an energy on a Landorus, and they don't see it coming. You just scramble switch for Land Judgment for game. That happens a lot. Um, I don't really remember any specific stories. But yeah, I mean, it definitely catches people off guard and can win games by itself.
True. So, next up, Switch. I mean, if Landers gets stuck in an X spot or something, you can just switch it out. Pretty straightforward. Now, Tool Retriever, I know you did play the Florida Regionals. I know now you don't. I mean, it's still an okay card, but I know you decided not to play it. Why do you not want to play Tool Retriever anymore?
So I really liked it during, like right after Primal Clash came out, just because, well, people like didn't expect Focus Ashes and kind of didn't expect all the tools that were going to be in it, so you could like, they might hit into you and not break your Focus Ash, and you can pick it up and put it on another guy. So back then, there was the surprise factor, but then there was also the deck played a little slower right when it first came out, because there were things like Gardevoir and Eviltall that kind of took a little bit of time to build up. So you had the time to like, put your Spirit Link down and later pick it up, put a Focus Sash down. Nowadays, I'm kind of afraid of the just raw speed of other decks. I think Tool Retriever is a little slow sometimes. So that's the reason that I don't have it right now.
Okay.
It's not terrible, though, if you want to include it in your list.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's always cool. Like, the first Primal Groudon, you can always just, like, Primal Evolve it, and the second one put a Link and maybe pick it up if you need to put a Hard Charm or a Focus Sash on it. That's the reason why I have it. I mean, it's the obvious reason, so nothing too crazy.
Like, it kind of fills one of the deck is kind of tight, and I have, like, relegated numbers of slots to different functions in the deck, and that kind of falls in the same function as the tools themselves, which I try not to go above 6 total. And then in the past couple tournaments, there have just been 6 tools I prefer over the Tool Retriever itself. So it just didn't make the cut for me.
That's true. Alright, so next up is Ultra Ball. Like we said earlier, I think in the Wobbuffet version, Ultra Ball is like definitely like needed in the deck. But in this version where you can just careen everything, do you think Ultra Ball is that needed?
In straight fighting lists, I tend to not include it, just because of Karina and just drawing into guys naturally. Whenever you throw in like a tech guy, like I had Manectric, at one point I had Dedenne in during regionals. If you have like one of those guys, you're gonna definitely want one. It's still okay in the straight fighting version, just because you can get basic fighting in the discard. If you're like in a tough spot where you need 2 Pokemon that turn, it's a nice Karina target as well. So I'd probably go 1 or 0 in straight fighting, and then 1, maybe 2 in things that have something that's not fighting.
Okay. And what about the Wobbuffet version? How many do you think you would put in there?
I think I currently have 2. I'm not I think it's 2.
Okay. I just didn't know if the Wobbuffet version, since you play so many Mega Turbos, if you decide to play like more Ultra Balls to get the fighting energies in the discard pile back or not. So.
It's weird just because like you want to be able to search for Wobbuffet, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Past turn 1 or 2, it's not gonna do a whole lot more than a Robo Sub would. So you kind of just Karina for the Pokemon you want, and then a Robo Sub, throw that down instead of a Wobbuffet, so you don't have to discard.
That's true.
Because usually you just like want to open Wobbuffet and not have to search for it. But yeah, I think 2's still good.
Okay. Now, speaking of Robo-Sub, this list didn't play any Robo-Subs. Obviously, you said the Wobbuffet does, but could you ever see the straight fighting version playing Robo-Subs? Or since you have the 1 energy attackers, you really don't need them?
I say you probably don't need them, just because, I mean, like, the only things you could maybe take out are, like, part of the tools or maybe a supporter or something. But the luxury that Halucha gives you is he's somebody you can just send up to die, but he also has a lot of mobility, which is one of the reasons that I do like this version over the Wobbuffet version. Is like you send up a Wobbuffet and either they kill it or you just have to wait for a really long time until you get it out of the active.
Yeah, true.
Whereas with Haluchas, you can just go back and forth in between them. So I think for that reason, Robosub probably isn't great in this deck. Also, just like I don't like it over the other cards in this particular list.
Yeah. Now, instead of going over all the supporters who play in here, I mean, they are pretty much straightforward. What are some other supporters you might put in Groudon that might help out your matches?
Well, when there was like a ton of item lock, I had Steven just to like bolster the supporter count and get your energies, because that's really all you need is energy and draw. So
Sure.
when like Trump card was still a thing and everybody and their mom was playing Seismitoad, if we were somehow to go back to a fully Seismitoad meta, I would probably put one or two Steven back in.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, this is pretty standard. I don't know of anything else that I would put in.
Now, I know some lists are playing Pokemon Center Lady, just like a 1 or 2 of. I'm not really sure why. I guess to heal the 60 damage. It doesn't seem that relevant, though. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
In the Wobbuffet version, you kind of YOLO with one Groudon most of the time, so I could see, like I have seen lists with one Center Lady in that. Sure, like if that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
I've had it in and out of my testing. It's okay. It's like, oh, it can win you a game if you draw it at the right time, but like all the other times you just discard it and forget about it. And then another thing that I just remembered is you can put teammates into your Wobbuffet Robosub version, just because they're definitely going to be killing a Robosub at some point. So teammates is fine, but it would be like over one of your draw supporters, so it might hamper your early game a little bit. Who knows? It's fine though.
Okay. Now, next up is stadiums. This list it plays 2 fighting stadiums, plus 20 to defending EX Pokemon, 3 Silent Lab to shut down abilities like Shaman and Jirachi, which are your main ones. Now, I know you could play Scorched Earth. I don't really like it. Do you like Scorched Earth at all in this list?
No, not anymore. I had it back during Florida just because it had the Baby Landorus, so you like really wanted early energy down in the discard. Nowadays, I don't really think you need Scorched Earth anymore.
Mm-hmm. Alright, and then the Fighting Stadium and Silent Lab, right now, mine's a 2-3. Which do you prefer more of?
Well, you definitely need more Silent Lab. I've actually, at times, gone 1-4 with 4. Basically, you need Fighting Stadium for things like Rayquaza and Kyogre, the things that you need for. And Versing Genesect was the other thing you need it for, because you need Halucha to get 2 shots. If for some reason nobody's playing any of those decks, you actually want like way more Silent Lab just because of Aegislash and Suicune.
True.
Because those are pretty popular right now, especially Aegislash, and that's really your only answer to Aegislash. If you're playing the if you're playing the Halucha version, you can kind of 2-shot it with like Fighting Stadium, Muscle Band, like if you get those at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just usually safer to blow it up with Silent Lab.
That's true. I mean, you can always play like somewhat safe and just try to attach 4 like fighting energies to Primal Groudon, but I mean that's, I don't know, it seems kind of hard just to make sure you always get like just 4 fighting energies by itself.
Yeah, I've done that before. It just, you have to kind of get the right draw for that to be the best way of going about it, because then you'd probably be discarding Strongs unnecessarily just to dig for the basic ones. I think it's usually just smoother for the deck to just hit the Silent Lab when you want to kill an Aegislash.
That's true. Okay, so let's go over the tools. Right now, I play 2 Focus Sash. Full HP gets knocked out, goes down to 10 instead. I really like this on Halucha. Do you think the deck should play more Focus Sash, or no?
I think 2 is actually, I think, right 1 or 2 is
Mm,
probably where you want to be. Because, I mean, like, it is really useful on Halucha, but it's less useful nowadays on Groudon itself.
true.
Um, Usually, Hard Charm does the same, if not a better job of protecting Groudon. Because, like, the only things that are one-shotting you are, like, Rayquaza or Grass guys if they come back. But at that point, if you're playing against Rayquaza, Hard Charm does the same thing, and it protects you from like just getting Sky Return first or something.
Yeah, true.
So it's nice on Haluchas. I I don't think 3 is necessary. I think 2 or maybe 1 if you want to fit a different tool in.
Yeah. You know, the whole reason why I'm doing it right now is because we've seen so much of a, I guess, spike in Manectric that it's just
Mm.
cute to focus Asha Hall Lucha, and now they either have to waste a turn of overrunning, which I mean, it kind of stinks, but then I play the tool retrievers, so I can pick them back up. It's a weird combination that I think of right now. I'm not sure if it's the best, though, so,
That's fair.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean there are definitely cute situations for Focus Sash.
Yeah. I mean, Spirit Lake's straightforward, if you evolve, you don't end your turn. Would you ever consider going down to 0? I know 1's probably, like, the max you ever play.
1 is the perfect number in this version. I think in the Wobbuffet version you can get away with 0, just because you're taking forever anyway. You might as well just manually evolve.
True.
But in this version, since you're kind of like attacking early sometimes with Holucha and Landorus, you do want that turn where you can evolve and attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I do I mean, a lot of the time you don't even need it, but it's that nice backup plan for when you're kind of behind.
That's true. Now, you talked about Hard Charm some where it helps against, Mega Rayquaza, and then maybe like Sky Return can't poke you that much. But is there any other situation that Hard Charm be great in?
It's pretty good just in general.
Mm.
Like you're never going to be wrong by putting this on a Groudon. It can mess with people's math, like with Aegislash or something if they're trying to two-shot you. Basically anything that's trying to two-shot you, definitely screw with their numbers. So yeah, and again, like a lot of the time it does the same thing as Focus Sash, prevents the 240 damage knockout from Rayquaza.
Yeah, that's true. Could you see going to 2? I think 1's just fine. Same as a Spirit Link.
3, in combination with Focus Sash and Hard Charm, you want 3. So you could go 1, 2, 2, 1 in either direction.
Okay, alright. That's interesting how you have like counts for all this stuff already. Like the 6 pulls and like the 3.
I've played a lot. I've played a lot of games with Groudon.
Alright, so next up is Muscle Band. You already talked about some. It helps with Hallelujah, how it could two-shot some people, because if you have 6, Muscle Band, 20 more, Strong Energy, 20 more, so you're swinging for 100 already. Or 6, yeah. So, I mean, that two-shot's most Pokemon in the game. Anything else that can help with? Maybe like Landorus, knock out some Pikachus or Raichus.
The reason that Muscle Band specifically is in the deck is actually for Landorus, because otherwise you would just run Silver Bangle if you're just using it on Holucha.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of need it for Landorus to be able to do those knockouts on those like low HP dudes, because you like to hit 60 damage you need 2 buffs. So just having the Muscle Band out with the Karina and stuff like that, it makes it happen way more often. Actually, like lists I've played in the past have 1 Muscle Band, 1 Silver Bangle. I think I do really like the Silver Bangle still, because it lets Holucha two-shot with a basic energy, and it lets you kill like a Strong Energy and a Silver Bangle does it, or like a Fighting Stadium Silver Bangle, whatever. It just makes it so you don't need 2 extra buffs.
Yeah. Okay, I know you cut out there just for a second, but you're talking about with the Silver Bangle and Strong Energy, you do 110. I imagine you're talking about Mega Manectric.
I was talking about Shaman EX.
Okay, sorry. I just cut out. I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, no problem. It's like the best way for the deck to kill Shaman EX is to Silver Bangle a Holucha with a Strong Energy.
Okay. Now, I guess another question is, could you see Silver Bangle being played for Hawlucha so that way you can drop a Silent Lab, Silver Bangle, and one-shot a Manectric EX turn 1?
Yeah, that's actually one of the other reasons.
Yeah.
Uh, I round one of Nationals top 64 played against Ryan Sablehouse's Manectric deck, and game two I got a turn one knockout on the Manectric that he attached energy to. With the Silver Bangle and Silent Lab, he was kind of upset.
Yeah, I can imagine. So now, I guess besides Silver Bangle, is there any other tools you can see fitting in this deck?
You may remember for Nationals, I played a Wide Lens,
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
which was pretty cute. I mean, I wouldn't include it if you're not playing the Manectric, just because Landorus isn't enough of a reason to play it, but if you have two different types, then it kind of is. So that's what I used to kill Zubats. You can kill two Zubats at once with a Manectric. You can kill two Pikachus or Eevees or whatever with a Landorus at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's an option if like those non-EX decks come back. But if you're not playing the Manectric, then you probably don't need it.
But nothing else too crazy. No, no helmet that does 20 extra damage, or
Rocky Helmet.
I don't know. Or healing scarf. Does healing scarf even work on this deck? I don't even know.
Not really. Does it work in any deck?
I don't know. I don't even know what it does. That's how good it is.
I mean, I played 6 different tools in my deck at Nationals. I think that's probably as crazy as you want to get.
Okay, so you keep talking about tools. It's 6 stuff. What's the perfect 6 number tools? Like, if you had to, like, right now pick 6 tools, what would the 6th tool be?
It would probably be 1 Focus Sash, 2 Spirit Link, 1 Muscle Band, 1 Silver Bangle.
Oh, what was the 2 of?
The 2 was Hard Charm.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I'd go 2 Hard Charm, 1 Focus Sash, Spirit Link, 1 Muscle Band, and 1 Silver Bangle.
okay. So next up, energies. 4-8. I think it's pretty much standard in this deck. I'm not sure about the Wob version. What are your thoughts on it?
4-8 is pretty safe. I'd say that's the safer play. You can go 4-7 if you really want to.
Mm-hmm.
I like drawing into energy, especially against Seismitoad.
True. What about the Wobbuffet version? Do you think it plays anymore, or do you think 12 is perfect still?
I think it's probably the same reasoning. I think you actually may be more able to like cut down to 7 in Wobbuffet, just because you are buying so much more time.
True.
Because with this deck, you really can't miss energy. You need to be like either attacking with a Lucha or Landers, or getting your Groudon as soon as possible with the subs to hide behind.
Okay, alright. So, overall, if you had to make changes to the list, what would your ideas be?
I know some people prefer computer search over the scramble switch, just because, if your only supporter in your opening hand is Karina, then you kind of want to be able to get a supporter for next turn. So I understand that reasoning. I personally probably would stick with scramble switch, just because it gives you so many more options. But that's one way you could go with it. As far as other things, like the Pokemon we talked about earlier, you can put a Regirock in if you want to. Even 2 if you are really afraid of Hippowdon and Klinklang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about most of the cards I've ever included in a Groudon deck.
Okay. Now, let's talk about matchups, and we'll just go over, what do you think are the deck's worst matchups?
Well, like we were saying, Klinklang,
Yeah,
Hippowdon,
true. Yeah.
those, the decks you can't hit it if you're an EX. Those are tough. So you kind of just lose to those, and I don't know that Regirock, those are probably what you really don't want to play against.
Yeah.
The next step up from that is Night March. Even with like Focus Ashes and Landorus, it's tough. But if you are afraid of Night March, you want to up the Focus Ash count for Landorus, so you make sure you get 2 attacks off with them.
Yeah, true.
It's winnable. It's not as bad as like Klinklang. Because against Klinklang, if they get a Klinklang, you just lose. But against Night March, you can actually take prizes. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are probably the worst.
Okay. Now, I know in the beginning of the video we talked about how, Sipestone, Manectric, Crobat can get easily beat by Groudon. What do you think? You think Get Ready's pretty much right about that one?
Um, I mean, if you're looking at Seismitoad decks, the one with Crobat in it definitely has a better shot of winning against Groudon than the Garbodor version.
True.
I would be shocked if anybody loses to Toad Garb with this deck. But you can lose games to Toad Bats just because if they run super hot and are able to use all of their super scoop ups on the bat line and just you can lose. Actually, the Wobbuffet version of Groudon, I think, is a slightly worse Seismitoad matchup just because of all the Robosubs and all the other weird items you have to play.
Yeah, true.
So you're more likely to get stuck with a terrible hand against Seismitoad with the Wobbuffet version, whereas this one, you can attack with Hawlucha if you want to. You can get 2 shots that way.
Yeah. I mean, in the Wobbuffet version, too, if you don't get a Float Stone quick enough on a Wobbuffet, then it's just kind of just sitting there while your opponent's just going to Quick Punch you for 30. I couldn't imagine you're the Seismitoad player playing, muscle bands or lasers down automatically to start knocking out those Wobbuffets quicker.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what your hand is at that point. If you're drawing into your Groudons and your energies and stuff, it doesn't matter too much. It'll eventually die. But yeah, that's one of the things I prefer with the Hawlucha version is the mobility. You can have Hawlucha take a hit, retrieve the next turn into a different Hawlucha, just repeat that process, and then they have to waste their Golbats and stuff on it instead of stacking damage on your Groudon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another matchup I want to talk about a little bit is Metal Rayquaza. More about the Landorus Hawlucha version. Because it seems like if they knock out a Groudon and then you knock out their Mega Rayquaza and you're both stuck at no attackers, the Mega Rayquaza can easily load up one.
Mm.
How does that matchup usually work out if people don't know how it usually goes?
What is get your Groudon going on the bench and then bring it up at the same turn that you're Lysandering one of their Rayquazas. So you want to take the first big threat knockout first. If you don't, you're kind of in trouble. So basically what you want to do is kill a Rayquaza on the first turn you bring up Groudon. They're going to hit you for they're not going to knock you on one hit, but they're going to hit you pretty bad so that the next turn they're definitely going to kill you.
Yeah.
You can kill the EX in that turn, then they'll kill your Groudon. And the last 2 prizes usually just kind of have to get a Shaman with your Hawluchas at some point. That's where the Silver Bangle comes in. So, yeah, it's usually killing 2 Rayquazas with your Groudon and then hoping you can kill a Shaman. The Wobbuffet version that has the 3/3 Groudon actually has a slightly better Metal Rayquaza matchup, just because you can more reliably get a second Groudon going. And it's going to be pretty tough for them to deal with the second Groudon. Whereas with the Hawlucha version, it's pretty hard to get a second Groudon going.
That's true. I mean, it just seemed like it was kind of sketchy, but I mean, you proved a good point in how to beat it, so that's a good thing to note there. Now, do you have any more tips for Groudon? I mean, it seems like we covered mostly everything about it.
Yeah, we've been talking for a little while.
True, it's been 30+ minutes about Groudon, but yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great play for day one, especially with all this Manectric hype coming out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tested a bunch of games against Tool Drop, Trubbish, Manectric, and it might be winnable if your Groudon player is bad, but we're at Worlds, that's not going to happen.
You can't really count on that.
Exactly. So I think even with Tool Drop, Trubbish, Groudon just maxing in the ground. Now, all right, one last question before we end up. People keep saying that VG can easily beat Groudon, and people are like, all right, if Manectric's to play, that means Groudon's to play, which means VG's to play, the weird cycle that people do. What do you think the Virizion Genesect matchup is like?
So, I mean, when people say that, the only Groudon version they consider is the Wobbuffet version, and in that instance, I think they're correct. I think the deck that only attacks with Groudon is going to have a really tough time against Virizion Genesect. But with this version with Hawlucha, you don't go for Groudon at all. You literally just Hawlucha and Landorus. So people aren't wrong when they say that it beats Groudon, but if you're just playing Hawlucha Landorus, that's not the same thing. So I don't know.
True. Yeah.
I think it's probably like 50-50-ish with this version. Um, the focus sash is on Haluchas. That's for Genesect.
True. All right. All right, Kevin. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Hopefully, everybody watching this learns something new about Groudon. Hopefully, they might play for day one or for the Boston Open. It's always a thing too. Unless, like we've been saying, unless there's some weird deck that does great day one that goes 8-0 or 9-0 that we don't know for some reason, then I would recommend playing that for the Boston Open because that means it beat like the other three decks that we talked about. Because I can imagine all three of these decks are going to be highly played at the day one of Worlds. But once again, thanks Kevin for doing this. Hopefully everybody enjoys watching this. I hope you have a great day. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Alrighty, bye.